Hello, folks. My name is Detroit Miracle, and I am happy to come to you for another message. Uh huh. Well, as you are aware that there are many things going on in life concerning right, wrong, good, and evil, that indicates that there are two sides to existence, in existence, and amongst existence. And those sides are, quite simply, evil, good, good, evil. No matter what order you state them in, it is a fact of the matter that there are two major main sides in life, which are good, of the all good, comprising everything consisting of what is moral, righteous, clean, decent, respectful, caring, sharing, loving, devoting. And on the other side, there is the evil side of existence, which has everything that is bad, wrong, corruptive, abusive, destructive, indecent, unclean, and etc. Yeah, and you know what makes those two sides stand in integrity and endure of a lasting? Well, persons and people do. Yeah, you might say people build the demands for both good and evil in terms of thinking of it as supply and demand. Yes, whatever is evil in society, it is of a demand and supply for people because people make it that way. And whatever is good, right, proper in society, people make those things and make that of a demand and a supply. How much of it there is concerning good and evil, the people themselves have made that the case. Yeah. If you see something such as in a case with good and evil, which is of abundance, then how do you think it got that way? Duh, it did so because of the people. If it was lesser of that, of a sum, substance, and amount, then the supply and demand would be very, very tiny. But there is much evil in the world, just like there is much good in the world. So people make that demand and supply of that. And if there are so many types and categories of good and evil on their sides, that it tells you that people want good and they want evil. I know maybe they're corrupted, maybe they're brought into it, maybe they're born into it or something like that. But nevertheless, they require an abundance of those two sources. And I could call evil good, good and evil sources because they are, quite simply. You can look at them as sources, forces, commodities, items, things, whatever you define them as, they are quite simply of good and evil, and they are of both sides. Good and evil doesn't mix. Good and evil is separate, and good and evil is divided. And when you sort of try to bring them together, it becomes a confliction. Yes, it is a great confliction to bring them together. That's why when you have the coin, which represents head and tails or two sides, they're facing away from each other. They're joined together, but they're facing away from each other. So they are not in accord or agreement with one another, but the coin emphasis states that they meet and come to a common understanding that both are required due to the supply and demand, so they stick together though they are apart. Yeah, I love using the coin as an example because it helps me get my meaning apart, or it helps me get my meaning across. I mean, not apart. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's not. Like things that are right out there in front of you, you only need to recognize them for what they are. And this is quite simply the thing with good and evil. Good and evil are there abundantly because the people have built it. Another example of it would be, or another overstatement of why these two forces of good and evil are so great in size and proportion, is because it's like the more you tap into something, the more you make it grow. Yeah, the more you draw into something or take from something, then the more you need from it as a result. The less you take from something and the less you tap into it, meaning you do not require much of it. And that's why it's there. That's why those two things, forces, sources are there, which are good and evil. They are there to provide for the people and the masses in regards to whatever they may need of both good and bad. Yeah, folks. Well, that is something else to think about. And I appreciate it if you would give me those likes, comments, and up those subscriptions to me, Detroit Miracle. Thank you and be blessed.